Good afternoon, and allow me to welcome you on behalf of Wichita State University and the Business Development Center. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we're wrapping up a series of 4 workshops dealing with the new normal, and we're glad that several of you have attended every single one of them, and we hope that means these efforts are being helpful in dealing with some of the challenges, and for some of you with the opportunities that this situation has brought to the business world. Seems like every day there's something that changes. There's something that surprises us in different ways. So we hope that these things can assist you in these workshops can assist you in dealing with those things. We also have the 3 separate series on cybersecurity. I believe next Wednesday is going to be the 3rd one, where we have contracted with an expert on that field to bring cybersecurity solutions for your business. Let me start with reminding you of what are the functions of the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers are here. We are your tax dollars at work, which means a lot of the services that we offer, the consulting, the networking, the education, are typically prepaid by you because we are your tax dollars at work. So very seldom we have a direct charge to you when you come to enjoy our services. Also, let me remind you that you can work with your consultants, your advisors, whether it's Vicky or Emily or Dwayne or myself here at the Wichita State SBDC. Make sure you go to our website and look at all the things that we have to offer you. We're probably bringing a new series starting in June, probably a week or a week and a half from this one, trying to stay relevant with the changes that are taking place. So stay tuned to see what's coming down the pike. And again, make sure that you reach out if you want to go deeper on some of these things that we have been sharing with you in the workshops. When we have a workshop like this, we try to be general enough that is all encompassing for the different audiences that we have, and pointed enough that is also relevant. Sometimes you can get too general and it's things that are common knowledge. Sometimes you can get too pointed and then a lot of people get out. We try to keep a balance. For those of you that deal day to day with supply chain issues, this is going to be probably not a lot of surprises, not a lot of things that you don't know, but just a good way to develop a checklist, a good way to deal with some of the challenges or opportunities that you're dealing with as we move forward. We are going to use, or I'm going to use, simple business concepts as examples of how a supply chain works, because whatever works on a small business usually can be, you can scale rather than going with something very complex that only a few people deal with, like international suppliers or international customers. What we're trying to do here on the supply chain is dealing with the basic elements, but with enough depth that makes it relevant no matter at what level of industry or business you are. Okay, where there's a very local, single owner to a corporation that deals extensively, manufacturing maybe, that deals extensively in supply chain issues. We're trying to make it relevant to all of you, and it's hard sometimes. So bear with us as we move through, as we go into our first slide. So again, thank you and welcome you to the supply chain workshop as we deal with this new normal. So we're moving to the next slide now. Thank you, Colton. Colton from the Wichita State Media Resources is with us also, and he's helping with a lot of the housekeeping. Oh, something that I forgot. If you have any questions throughout the workshop, use the chat box at the very center of your screen, at the very bottom, and go ahead and post any questions that you have. Emily Rishel, our marketing expert, our marketing advisor, is helping me also to manage the questions, manage how we're going to group them, when are they going to be asked. And so thank you, Emily, for helping me with that piece as well. So if there's something that tickles your fancy, that you want to maybe go in a little deeper, if I have the answer, I'll be glad to find that out or find it for you later. But please go ahead and use the chat box for any questions that you may have. So we're going to start with the very basic elements of the supply chain, okay? And you can read there some of the definitions that we have. And there's some things that it seems very clear, but let's look at some of the elements that are over there. Let's start with the end of the first bullet, products and services. At the end of the day, we're engaged in business to supply products and services to a market that will pay for those in order for us to maintain our business and create profit. So as important as supply chain is, it's means to an end. At the end of the day, it's about delivering our products or services to a market and to get engaged in a commercial transaction. So let's not lose sight of what this is all about, which is delivering those products and services. Delivery means it's a process, and that says right above it in that same bullet that supply chain, it's a group of process that takes place through a network, and all these elements are interconnected. Those, going back to the product side, those products can be purchased for resale, which means they have to be procured. They can be created, which means that you take raw materials, procure components, you transform them into that product or service, okay, and you deliver them. So all these things make sense, but we need to understand how they work. So we're going to focus, and we're going to take an example, very simple, but very true. You can take your computer, your IT network at your place of work. You have computers, you have servers, you have routers, you have printers, and all these things are interconnected, or they don't do you any good. If your computer doesn't talk to the printer, or it doesn't get, the internet is not accessible, all these things by themselves, it doesn't work. You have processes. You got to start your computer. You have to boot it. You have to put your password. You got to go to the menu in order to print or in order to send your email. All these things are processes, organized ways in which we need to do things to achieve the end result that we want. That's exactly what the supply chain is. An interconnection of network, all these resources that exist, for creating synergies. 2 + 2 + 2 is not 6, is 10. And following established processes in order to be both effective and efficient. So we got that out of the way. So what are some of these resources that are part of the network? Okay, we have organizations. Our own organization, the supplier organization, the logistics organization, if we're dealing in international terms, your freight forwarders, your custom agents, the governments that are involved, the banks that manage the letter of credit. I mean, these supply chain groups or parts of the network can be very simple or can be very complex, okay? But you need to make sure that you understand which are all those pieces on the network in your particular supply chain. Facilities, those are yourself or the warehouse where you store your goods or services, or the containers in which your products come, the railroad that moves them, or the trucking that moves them. Your IT system, how is this tracked? How is the control? How is it reported? How do we know what we have, when it's coming, and what's happening, okay? And of course, the logistic process, again, the system, the way that things happen to get from point A to point B ourselves, how they're transformed in our facilities, and then how they're delivered to the market with our customers that are going to pay for those products and services. Okay, and let's not forget, there's an infrastructure that's different than facilities. Infrastructure is the base, the laying thing, the roads, the railroad, the ports, and all these things that are also structural but are outside of our facilities. And last, by no means least, people. Unless you have people that can follow those processes within the networks, you are going to have big bottlenecks and big issues in your supply chain. So you need to understand each one of these components as you work through. Don't forget any of it, even if you are a supply chain manager in your organization. Let's keep track of each one of these, because each one of these can be a challenge, especially in the world that we're operating today. Now, there's in supply chain, there's a triangle, okay? And I want you to keep this in mind. There's three elements on that triangle, okay? Time, quality, and cost. Those are the basic three pillars in which that affect directly and your supply chain rest on. Okay, those are the things that you're going to have to manage for all these other things to work. Okay, quality is something that you can adjust. Sometimes you can get away with different quality levels. Not recommendable, but sometimes you have to. Okay, cost, it can also change. Your quality can go up, your quality can go down, your cost can go up, your cost can go down. One of these key elements that has very little latitude is time. Time is time. You cannot replace it. You cannot make it up. Sometimes you say, well, money can make up for time. We could debate that, and probably sometimes it kind of makes sense, but you need to understand that it's a resource that you got to increase in order to make it happen. Time, you just got so many. Money, you can have more. Quality, you can adjust and play with. Sometimes you can tell a customer, hey, you're going to have something that is a little less, but let's fill the order. It does the job, and I'm going to give you a price break. And the customer may say yes. But time it's a commodity that you only have what you have, 24 hours in the day, no more, no less. So remember this when you're dealing with your supply chain. These three are very important, probably equally important, but the one that you don't have a lot of latitude to play with is time. The other thing is the marketplace. I can have a perfect organization, great supplier, great logistics chain, great facilities, great people, but if there's some changes in the marketplace that are demanding more of my product or demanding less of my product, it doesn't matter how well executed my supply chain management is, I'm going to have trouble. So let's not forget that this is means to an end. We cannot forget to look at the marketplace. We cannot forget what is happening in our environment in order to make sure that all these tools, whether it's your accounting system, whether it's your IT system, whether it's your supply chain system, whether it's your equipment in the production room, or the storage in your warehouse, all these things are not in an island. They are in a marketplace. So that's where we're going to go to see some elements that are important in the next slide, because we cannot ignore them. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. We got all the basics covered. We got your time, quality, and cost triangle in place. We have all the different elements. We're going in there. Okay. Remember how we started? Products and services. Yeah, this is a supply chain workshop, but let's not forget that we have the supply chain in order to deliver products and services. So where is your product or service in this new normal? What has happened in the market, and how is it affecting what you have done for 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years? You have a particular business, you have a particular industry, you have a particular product, But this disruption is different than many other that we've had in our lifetime, at least in my lifetime, and I'm a pretty old guy. So it is important for you to look where is your product or service in the market. Is your product and service continuing to give your customers what they want or what they need? Is it something that continues to be in demand out of your product? Most of us have a flagship product. You know, very few of us have only one product and one product only. Most of us have a product line. But within that product line, we have one product that is our flagship. Where is this product at today in meeting those needs, those wants? Okay? Has it become more or less relevant? And if it's more relevant or at least equally relevant, can you still deliver that product for the same price, in the same timeline, and of the same quality? Now, those are elements of the supply chain. So you see why analyzing your product position in the market is key to your supply chain, because if any of those things have changed, it's going to affect your supply chain. If the demand is less, but you have a higher demand for another product, or you must try to substitute this for that, all that reflects on your supply chain immediately, because this costs different than this. The procurement for this is different than this. The supplier is different. The time line, that the lead time in order to get your product may be different. The price is different. So it's important to analyze your product and your product line, because any changes, more or less, is going to come back and reflect on your, or at least in some aspects of your supply chain. So if everything is the same as before, you still got to go to the triangle. Can I get it on the same time? Can I get it with the same quality? And can I get it for the same cost? Okay. So even if your product is equally in demand, can I deliver it the same? Or do I need to adjust any of those things? And how is that going to affect my supply chain? No, my product and service is not in the same position that it was back in November, 6 months ago. So what has changed? Or let's say that the product is the same, but my supply chain has been disrupted. Okay. What do I need to do? And then in that connected network, which area is it my supplier? Which area of those different things do I need to look at? Is it my supplier? Is it my logistics? Is it my own facilities? Is it the price? Or is it the organizations that I'm working with? We saw on TV this morning, I don't know if you watch the news, the cluster that they have right now with the license tags. Okay. People that are driving with, almost 30 days expired tags, it is not their fault. They haven't been able to get their tags renewed. Okay. Why? Because the supply chain and the tag renewal process is messed up. Okay. There's some elements in that supply chain that are affecting the consumer, the people that want those products or services. So what has happened and how am I going to fix it in order to continue to meet the needs of my customer with my products or services? Okay. Need to look at my product line. Do I have a substitute product within my product line that will take care of what my clients want, what my customers want? And if it is, go back to the supply chain. Can I deliver it for the same or better price? Can I deliver it for the same or better quality? Can I deliver in the same or shorter timeline? Okay. And in order to answer those questions, you have to go to the elements, all those elements of the supply chain that we saw. Is it on my source? Is it on my logistics? Is it on my systems? Is it on my structure? Is it on my people in order to get those things accomplished? Okay, let's go to the next and long, it's kind of a long slide, and it's probably the one that we're going to be wrapping up things here. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of very simple businesses that have been affected by this COVID-19. One is I don't know if you can look at me. I look like a half partially covered dandelion with all this white fuzz, right? Um, it grows. It doesn't grow everywhere, but it grows. And it's kind of a mess. Why? Because we haven't been able to go to a to a hairstylist. And you said, Frank, you don't need a hairstylist. I'll take your dog clippers and take care of it yourself. Come on. Okay, that's not the point. The point is that our supply chain, for those people with great manes, our supply chain in the delivery of that the goods and services in the hairstyle world have been very much affected, right? So how do you do this? How do you get your hair done? You make an appointment time, you know how much you're going to pay, and the one that is delivering the product has certain things in their network that are interconnected. You can have the best hair stylist in the country, but if this person doesn't have a chair, don't have mirrors, don't have the shampoos, conditioner, mousse style chemicals, colors, permanent, I don't care how good he or she is, they won't be able to take care of your hair. They need scissors, they need clippers, they need, all these different elements to do that. Okay? So all these things need to be interconnected. So what happens if they cannot get perm supplies, but they have color and they have all the other tools? So maybe they'll do, and you don't want to lose your customers, right? So maybe you'll do some specials where you do a discount on the haircut or on the color, and you're going to have to reschedule the perm. Or maybe you can do the perm and the hairstyle, but you cannot do the color. So you're going to have to adjust some things in the delivery of your products or services, or some products or services are not going to be delivered on time, right? Because your supply chain has been disrupted. This is a very simple example. Okay, look at this other example. Okay, we have plenty of cattle and we have plenty of hogs in the field and in the feedlots right now, right? And we have packing plants and we have staff. Okay? Restaurants just open, right? So what happens if you're a breakfast place and you cannot get sausage and bacon? All right. So what can you do? What can you do? Because people want sausage and bacon and eggs. Apparently there's a huge disruption in the beef and pork supply, but I haven't heard much about chicken. So I don't know if the supply is abundant and accessible or not. But then you say, okay, let's do a special on chicken and waffles and pancakes. This is a new trend from what I see out there in the market. So let's try to offer our customers something else so now that they're open, they come in. Or, you go open your eyes, you begin the days with the news that is telling you, okay, we have these cases going up or this or that, and you start your day with COVID in front of you. Well, I'm really tired of eating my own cooking or whatever. I really want to go to a restaurant. And then you go in there and half of the tables are, barricaded or chairs are upside down. There's all these people in line, and all of a sudden your appetite gets affected by all these things that you saw in the news and the reminder that COVID is working in our midst. So what do? Well, maybe I don't want to go in and eat, but I want some other type of food. Okay, I'm going to do a carry out. So as a restaurant owner, you want to make sure that your supply chain, it's open and people can, at the end of the day, you don't care if the people eat there or if it's at home, as long as it's your food, right? I have a client had his best week ever through the drive-through. Okay. Now his drive-through is working from 10:30 in the morning until about 2:30 in the afternoon, and from about 4:30 in the afternoon until about 8:30 at night. And he says, Frank, I don't even have to open my dining area. My drive-through is just, I had the best week ever. So he adjusted his supply chain in order for his products and services to get to market. So I'm going to do a change in the lineup. I'm going to do a change in how do I deliver. I'm going to bring different products to meet those needs. So am I going to, now that we have an issue with the protein, animal protein supply, do I want to start offering some plant-based dishes in my restaurant? I don't know. Then you need to talk to Emily because she's the marketing expert. Remember what we talked about? Even though we're talking about supply chain, we're talking about adjusting your supply chain. And sometimes that adjustment is not necessarily within your supply chain, but is with marketing. Or am I having the same terms with my supplier now that I'm ordering 50% less? My price was based on certain volume discounts. And right now I'm not meeting that volume. That means my price may go up or my cost may go up, so my price will have to go up. And how is that going to affect my customer and my ability to retain those customers? I may have to sit down and negotiate with my supplier for my volume discount pricing remains in place even if my volume has changed. Okay? So, and that goes to another part of the supply chain. I used to bring things for the truck by the truckload once a week. Well, now my demand is not enough, or my supply from my source is not enough to bring a truckload a week. I need to bring a partial load. How am I going to do with my logistics? How am I going to do with my trucking company? Should I wait 2 weeks and still order a truckload and bring 2 half trucks in 1 2-week supply? Or do I just do 1 half every week? What is happening to my line of credit? What is my banker doing? Is it getting tighter? Have they changed their lending policies? Are they pushing me on my line of credit when before I had all the access that I wanted, and now am I being curtailed because they're worried if I'm going to make it or not because my demand is changing or my prices are changing, or the ability to secure raw materials is changing. You see how supply chain has so many other factors than just the elements of the process. I mean, now you're talking accounting and finance. You're talking about marketing. You're talking about operations. Let's go back to that triangle for a minute, okay? Where's my quality? Because everything that changes is going to change the configuration of the triangle. You may have 2 equal sides and 1 shorter. You may have 3 different sides now when before there were 3 equal sides for your triangle. You had it balanced, and now it's unbalanced. So every time that changes is going to affect something in your business besides your supply chain, okay? Do I need to go to a completely different product? And what is that? That means perhaps changing your whole supply chain. I'm only going to need half of my building. Can I part it out and rent the other half if I have a tenant? Or can I store more in-house rather than store somewhere else? How is that going to affect my logistics and my people and whatnot? Okay. Do I need to change the product itself? Make it bigger, make it faster, make it last longer, make it last less in order to adjust my triangle of quality, cost, and time. Okay, so you need to start looking at all these things. Listen, you know your supply chain, or you used to know your supply chain. You cannot go and adjust your supply chain without looking holistically at your business. Okay, we're talking your accounting and finance, you're talking your operations, you're talking your HR, your human talent, you're talking your marketing. When you hire these folks, and I know you said, hey, you got to do what you got to do, but I tell you, I know business owners and I know how you think. You have a sense of responsibility for your staff. Okay, how is my people going to work if my demand is half? How can I keep them? Who can I keep? Should I furlough folks? Should I lay folks off? Should I have a team meeting? Are we that close and we all take a pay cut and keep our full-time employment? Do I go in shifts because my demand has gone up? Or do I pay overtime? Do I hire new people in order to shore this up? How are these changes in the market affecting your supply chain and the elements of your supply chain? Now we threw one more in there, which is your human talent. Okay. So all these things are interconnected. So we're gonna maybe change those processes, those systems that we had in there. Are we gonna change it with our suppliers? Okay, we need to find a new supplier. What are their terms? What are her terms? How are they different from my traditional supplier? Can I make it work the same, or it just doesn't even make sense to try to work them the same? So what are some of the new systems that I'm going to impose on my network, on my supply chain network? Because remember, you have the resources, but you also have the systems, and they are interconnected. Going back to if you remember on our first slide, okay? So how do I manage this new relationship with my supplier? How do I manage a new relationship with a new supplier? What are some of the things that are going to change in the process? Maybe their terms are shorter. You know, you used to get away with 45 or maybe even 60 days. And now it's 30 days on the dot. That's going to affect your cash flow. Okay. Your purchasing process, your volumes. How much am I going to be selling of this new thing that I have created because my market changed? The needs and the wants of my customers have changed, or the perception is different. Okay? I have a wider market. Not all of it is bad in terms of reduction. Some of you are having an increased demand for, I mean, for goodness sake, if you're a respirator manufacturer, you're going crazy because every ventilator, every respirator that you put out is snatched up. But maybe some of these purchases are being done by their own government contracts. They're the federal government. You say, this is great. But these folks don't pay on 30 days. They pay maybe on 90 days or 120 days. Can I get the line of credit to continue operating because my sales are up? No, it's not only about your sales being down. It's not only about your product changing, but maybe that volume, that demand is making you affect some of this purchasing. Because the rent or the mortgage doesn't wait, your payroll doesn't wait, the utility bills, they have been waiting somewhat, but you know, we're a few days away from all that going away. So you do need to, maybe you got a PPP and you cover 8 weeks of your payroll. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying, you know, that took place, and if it took place and is working, you know, thank goodness for that. So, but you are going to have to look, even when your business is exploding, growth can be as challenging as a decline. And it can kill you as well if your cash flow is not well managed, okay? Your logistics. I used to work with certain freight forwarders. I used to work with certain trucking lines. I used to work with certain routes. You know, I used to source regionally. Now I have to source nationally, or God forbid, internationally. And that affected, remember the triangle? Time, quality, and cost. Maybe all 4 angles got messed up. I'm sourcing internationally. Okay, it's going to take longer. I'm sourcing locally. It's going to take less time. But what is the quality and what is the cost? Well, time is better. Quality is good, or it's same or better, but my cost just went up 40%. So is my market going to bear that 40% increase in my price? No. Okay, so what that does to my supply chain? Which are some of the elements of the supply chain that I have to affect, okay, in order to make it work? Changes to budget, changes to calendars are coming. So you need to make sure that all these things in your supply chain are balanced, and they balance in a very precarious base, which is that triangle, okay? Remember that. Time, cost, and quality. Those are the things that you need to look at it within the supply chain. And as a business, you got to take a more holistic approach and look at where is my product or service in the market today, and walk it backwards, work it forwards until you achieve the new balance in your supply chain and for your business, where the triangle comes back together and it's able to support your supply chain. The time, you know where the time needs to be now in this new normal, you know where the quality is, and you know what your new cost is, and you have adjusted all the different elements of the network: accounting and finance, operations, human talent, and marketing, in order to make this work. So those are the very basics of the supply chain, but at the same time, I think we got a very holistic view of all the things that need to be affected. So if we have some questions, I know this went fast, and that is good. But if you have some questions, please, this is a good time to go ahead and ask those questions, and we'll try to deal with your challenges or opportunities.
It doesn't look like we currently have any questions, but we can wait a few minutes.
Okay, just, I mean, if you want to go a little deeper, if you want to go something particular about your business, I don't know if we can provide a very specific solution, but we definitely can try to do that. I know that several of you are in manufacturing, and really the supply chain piece, I think once you look at what we went over today, are things that you knew, and that's okay. It's okay sometimes to be redundant. It's okay to be reminded of how this works. But manufacturing right now, especially in Wichita, is challenging because it's not about your supply chain. It's about your product or service and the market demand. So yes, your supply chain is a part of your business, and it's a big one, okay? But when those contracts have been canceled or pushed back or reduced, when your raw materials have gone up online, or where your timeline has changed, manufacturing it's a big piece. And I would tell you that before you go into tweaking your supply chain, you really need to look at your accounting and finance, okay? Because that is going to be probably one of your biggest challenges right now. You probably have the capability, especially with this refresher, to adjust your supply chain and the elements directly related to the supply chain. But maybe what you need to look at is at your product, your marketing, and accounting and finance, where you are on that cost and in that time piece of the corner. Any questions? Okay, so just allow me to remind you again, and to thank you once more on behalf of Wichita State University and the Business Development Center, that we are here to serve the local business owners with these different things. We don't have all the answers, but we are part of a very sophisticated national, regional, statewide network, and all those different levels with a lot of different resources for marketing, for research. And please do not hesitate to contact us individually. Go to our website and go through the process to become a client. And we'll be more than happy if we can provide one-on-one advising and direction and attention to you and your business. So please don't hesitate to do that. Thank you very much again, and be tuned for the rest of our workshops that are coming soon.